Ew, that's recent.
Gotcha. Well, we're live, folks. Good morning. Trying to get our act together over here. I've got Big Jim and I've got the Florida man Ziggy. And today we're going to talk a little bit about boost and buck converters. We're going to do some live experimentation.
Some
So,
boosting and some bucking.
right. So
We
hold on.
we just hope we
Um,
don't buck up.
it's only
Gonna
buck
happen.
down, son.
It's gonna happen.
Buck down, don't buck up.
Yeah. So I don't know really what to do here. So I guess I could start with showing stuff. Is that maybe the best way to do this?
It's your show, baby. I mean, whatever.
Let me.
Don't ask. You brought us on this show, so it's
There we
not
go.
like you got the A team here.
So we're going to talk a little bit about some stuff that we have sitting over here. By no means am I an expert or any of that kind of stuff, but these are boost and buck converters, and we'll take a look at some slides and stuff like that. But I wanted to show them and talk a little bit about some of the components. You take a certain amount of power and you put it in, and through the magic of electronics, you transform the output into something else. Um, Typical components that you would see on something like this are one is a transformer. So that's this big toroid. Here's one on this one. We have some of these electrolytic capacitors, and they play a role, I think, mostly in filtering. But the brains of the operations are these MOSFETs right here, and they act as a switch, and they switch on and off with a particular timing sequence in mind to help control the amount of juice that's flowing outside of this thing. We'll talk a little bit about that. There's one here. And then they have big old heat sinks on them. And so these big old heat sinks are because they generate heat. So when you do put power in and you do get power out, there is an element of loss. I don't know if you'll be able to see, but that MOSFET is underneath the bottom of the board. 2 minutes before the show, I'm looking at this thing. I'm like, it doesn't have a switch. But then I realized it was there. What we're going to do today is use this thing. And Jim's got some equipment over there. And Lord knows what Ziggy's got, to create a load and hook this up to our boost slash buck converter or whatever it is, pull some current through, and then we'll be able to adjust it here and we'll be able to see some of the effects. This is called I don't know, a cool faster or cooler faster, but it's kind of like a clone of a Maker Hawk load. And it's got USB, it's got the raw jack inputs here, it's got a barrel connector, some more USB type stuff. It's got plugs all over this dang old thing. I don't know what they all do, but I know if I plug in here, I get power. So that's what we've done so far.
And I think
How's
those
that, boys?
screws they should be marked. The screws on what I'm seeing is the left side there by your index finger.
I marked them because,
Okay, that's your input power, right? Your test power. Your
well, that's
load.
what I'm going to use for this test, but I could use a USB. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or I
Yeah.
could,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Now,
But I
this has
mean, we're
got
not we
power.
we don't need no stinking USB here. This is real manpower with wires and danger.
That's right. That's right. And I was flexing this wire yesterday a little bit, but this is our our power device under test, and it is just cheap ass speaker wire that we're going to use.
That's your
Well,
5.0 connector.
Yeah, and so
Got the reds and the blues.
we're
we
hoping
got
something terrible happens.
we got a lot of the same white trash here. I mean, so
Let me get you over here.
power supply. Which way is this thing going? Okay, to get it all in the screen. Ape and I were talking before the show. What you can't see off this side of the screen on either one of these overheads
The mountain of stuff just
is the
slowly falling into the camera view.
is the hot garbage that is
Mess.
all over the desk. So this is that East Tester DC load, and I had this all set up with the crappy software program last night, and it didn't save any of the settings. So I'm going to run it from the panel this morning, and I still don't really remember how to work all of it. And then this is the boost converters that Ape made us buy, and this is a little because Hollywood. The last time I did something on a stream, I was using the Astron 35 amp power supply up here on the desk. And Hollywood's like, you really need to cut down the available current so when you screw up, it doesn't kill you immediately. And so last night I remembered I had this little tiny desktop 2 amp 15 volt power supply. So that's what I'm using. And then just because I don't trust my setup on the East Tester Gidget, I have one of these little inline watt power meters that all hams love to stick in their battery boxes. So that's
awesome.
my setup here for what it's worth.
I can't tell which one of these is the positive and negative on the thing. And
Here.
so we got Mr.
Hold it
Mudd
up to
over
the
here.
camera.
Oh, hold on a second. Okay, that one's got a little plus on it.
Right.
We got Mr. Mudd in the chat, and so he was on our Coffee and Ham radio show, and he had one of these things, and immediately afterwards, I'm like, I'm buying one of those,
And then made me buy one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was like, we'll be able to do stuff. What exactly that stuff is, I don't know. You got anything you want on the screen?
I was just popping out the chat, but I have a buck converter. Let me get this out of view here. I have
Thank
a
you,
buck
Doc
converter.
Brad.
Doc
Yeah.
Brad, thanks. Yeah.
So, so I've got a buck converter, and it's in my golf cart at the moment. And I've tried all kinds of experiments with this thing where I've taken one of my large solar panels and I've directly plugged it into this thing because it's supposed to go from 36 to 12. The available inrush current that solar panels do not have kind of makes that whole test falter. I'm just trying to power some 12-volt devices and radios and stuff like that. But even a big 1 farad capacitor on the output on the 12-volt side still isn't enough.
So I was going to ask, did you try putting a start cap, a hard start kit on it or something like that?
Yeah. I think I've got a full 1 farad cap. Yeah, there it is. And then so I had to put these 2 big resistors on here as well.
Sweet Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I had to put these 2 big start resistors on here as well because when this thing's flat, the buck converter won't talk to it because it just sees it as a short.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to put this load on here, and then I could charge this up. And this is it's a 3 farad.
I can feel the danger from here.
So
yeah, that thing makes me nervous.
It makes me nervous too. But even with the solar on the buck down to 12 into this, the buck just wasn't keeping up with this because this also has its own this also has its own parasitic draw that nobody likes to talk about. It doesn't just stay charged for free. So it's constantly sagging on the battery a little bit. Yeah.
How much does it do you know?
Current wise, I never measured it. I never thought to check.
Well, I mean, how much is it sagging the voltage when it's plugged in?
It's measurable. It's noticeable. It's not within decimal points. So yeah, you can see it. But yeah, so I tried everything to make that experiment work. As you can see, nothing beats a battery, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah.
Mr. Mudd saying you need a soft start circuit on that cap.
Well, that is so they sell
they
sell a soft start kit for your air conditioner compressor.
It's right
setup.
here. See, soft start.
Soft, and it starts. But that would be the same kind of thing as that soft start kit for an air conditioner.
So the air conditioner one is cool because I've heard all kinds of things, including that it actually changes the phase angle coming in, and instead of just getting slapped with a hammer, you get little softer knocks, but more frequently or something like that.
Well, one thing it does, because it's in my Amazon list to buy one, and I'm going to get that done this winter because I was too lazy and too sweaty to do it in the summer in Alabama. But yeah, I want to change it out on ours because what it does is it'll lower the inrush current for one, and then it also will lower the overall current draw of that condenser running too.
So let me speak professionally on this because of the one-time experience I have with it. My Elmer lost power. I ran over there. He's got this massive 3 or 4 ton unit and a little 3,000 watt generator, and he's like, "No, it works." I was like, "There's no way." And he had the little clear box on the bottom, and everything fired up. I couldn't believe it.
Yep.
On a 3,000 watt Jenny. Anyway.
All right. Well, before we get too far
Amen.
down the road, let me talk a little bit about. I like to put slides together, so sorry. And I put this on here so people would know what the heck we were talking about. And we have boost and buck converters offer a flexible solution for voltage regulation in systems where the input at voltage can be above or below the desired output voltage. And so an example of why you'd want to use one of these things is that maybe you have a 12-volt battery and you want to charge a iPhone, which requires 5 point something volts of input. And so you use a buck converter, which will pull the voltage down. And then by understanding different requirements for your application and the need to transform the output voltage, you can choose what's appropriate for you, a boost or a buck converter. And so like a lot of confusion around these two things. So the buck converter itself, the primary function of it is to step down the voltage. So if you want to go from high to low, you use a buck converter. And I was showing it earlier when we had the one on the screen. It uses a transistor or a MOSFET, which acts as a switch. It also has inductors, diodes, and capacitors. Here's the tricky part: when the energy from the output voltage, when the switch is off and the switch is the transistor, it releases the energy into the load side. And then these things will have a small IC on there, which is programmed to adjust the duty cycle. And the amount of on and off time is what adjusts the voltage. Now, these that we have here have a potentiometer on the output side that you can use to adjust, and we'll take a look at that. The boost converter, the main function of the boost converter is to step up. So this is going from low to high. So it's the reverse direction. Generically, everybody calls them all buck converters, regardless of what they're doing with it, right? I mean, that's what we always see it, and I do it myself. So it has similar components as the buck converter. There's arranged differently. When the switch is on, the inductor draws current from the input and stores it as energy. When the transistor is off, the inductor releases the energy, adding the input voltage through the diode into the output capacitor and load. And so we talked a little bit about the topology of the electronic circuit. The switch is in series with the buck converter with the input and the inductor. And then there's a diode that connects everything to ground. With the boost converter, the inductor is connected directly to the input and the switch connects the inductor to ground. Now, what's interesting is that with we actually, don't we believe this one device we have is actually a boost buck converter? But this is the power supply that I'm using. And
I never saw it do it.
Well, I mean,
all.
if its main source of power is 120 volts AC, I would just call it a variable step down transformer.
It's not 120. It's, well, I'm giving it.
It plugs into the wall.
No.
No.
What is this?
These are DC to DC.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, they're buck boost.
Different programs, Ziggy.
Buck boost.
But I'm not sure how much stuff you can feed into these things, to be honest with you.
So what, and I was getting my meter out too. So what I saw yesterday, not extensive testing, but my bench power supply was on 9 volts. I plugged everything in, turned it on, and immediately had 55 volts on the output side of the thing that Ape is showing on the screen.
What?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it boosted like a mofo. And
crazy.
so I started turning it down
to light you up.
Yeah. So, and that was on a, I think I was current limited too, but to like 1 or 2 amps, but still at 40
That's
volts.
enough to kill you.
That would change my religion. Yes.
Yeah, that's got me a little nervous about these stuff because, like, you can see that this does not have a protective cover. You know what I mean? Like you could easily get lit up with this.
So I don't. Well, where I was going with that is I don't think it's going to drop the voltage at all. I don't think it will. I mean, I haven't wound mine down that far. We can try it. I'm curious because it's damn sure a boost converter, but I'm not seeing anything buck. Now, to be fair, I only put 9 volts in it out in the shop, and my power supply here is 15 volts at 2 amps. So I can crank this all the way up to 15. But right now I'm showing 44 volts output.
Well, who's going to do some experimenting on film first? Is it me or you?
Well, I'll do it. I don't care. I'm all for science, son. Let me scoot this camera down a little farther. I ain't got enough room for all this crap on my desk. Jesus Christ.
I didn't call Clay Electric and pull the permit for this show this morning, guys.
Yeah, right. So here is one of those inline things. Over here is that load, and I need a load, so I actually don't need a load for this, but it'll work.
We should print a case.
Right.
Chuck.
I actually have this wired in backwards.
Works all the same, doesn't it?
Well,
I don't know.
He's feeding the in into the out.
Yeah, let me reverse this.
And now
You'll
it's
just
gonna
get
be
a negative
upside down.
number.
Right, the power in the battery is going up.
Yeah, right. What does the meter care?
We're still talking soft starts over in here.
Oh man, are they?
There was some drama about the soft start starting to go on. So
That'll
I-
get-
Hey,
that'll-
DJT.
That'll get some dads riled up, I swear.
well, I talked about it to my air conditioning professional, and he said, "What the hell are you talking about? That's some kind of witchcraft voodoo. You don't want to do that on that air conditioner. That'll cause too much draw on the current and the capacitor start." Okay.
You do a great job of relaying how out of date he is with current tech.
I know that. I mean, I had him put in a new thermostat, and I had to program the thermostat because
That's what I'm saying, right?
he was like, "I don't know what I'm doing."
There you go. Here's your manual, young man.
Yeah. Well, he's younger than me. But
He's an
Yeah,
old soul.
yeah.
At some point, it turned into people who help me now are younger than me instead of older than me. Like
Right.
I'm older than my doctor. I'm old, and I don't like it. I don't like that at all.
I'm gonna. Oops, wrong camera. Turn off that one. So there's. Well, whatever. All right. So this is hard to get all this on the screen. Here is the voltage adjustment for this thing. And over here, you can see what kind of voltage we're getting out. I'm putting 15 volts into it from the power supply right there.
Jim, you got me nervous with that metal screwdriver.
Well, it's the one I have.
100%. That's the thing that I was worried about when I was like, if I'm going to be twisting this thing. with a metal
Hollywood
screwdriver-
is probably screaming at the screen at me right now too. But there's
boy-
actually nothing real close to here that I can have a problem with. So
If that boy don't own a ceramic screwdriver, I swear.
I don't. So I'm adjusting. This is reading the power out of the backside of the boost converter.
Careful with them fingers.
Like my glasses were just right here, and now they're gone. Like does that happen?
We can rewind the stream and find out where you set them.
Yeah.
I got them. And apparently, I dropped an F-bomb on the show yesterday. I didn't mean to do that.
You did. It'd be all right. Not the first one. Okay, so I think it has to. Well, it's caught up. So so it is bucking. I'm putting in 15. Yep, that's it.
That's all you get.
That's as low
So-
as she'll go.
So it's a boost converter, right? It goes
Yep.
up, not down.
Now, if I drop the input power,
Oh, okay. So it's just passed through. It looks like there's some loss maybe.
yeah,
happening.
yes, exactly. Yep. Because I'm showing about, I think about 12 volts, 12 or 13 volts on the power supply.
All right. So my question is, Jim, is what kind of load are we going to beat on this thing with?
Well, I'm limited because this is only going to do 2 amps output, and if it overloads, it just starts going wonky. The power supply does. So I'm going to let Ape put the load on it because he's got the Maker Hawk, which will work better. The problem I have is this East Tester does all sorts of cool stuff that I don't know how to work yet or have forgotten because I haven't used this in 2 years.
Nobody's judging.
So it's probably easier for Ape to do the load with the Maker Hawk. But that's what I'm seeing with anything up. Once the input voltage gets over 7 volts, then she goes full stupid. Like I said, right out of the box, when I plugged it in with 9 volts input, I had 55 VDC output.
Wow.
Now, what
All right,
I
so-
don't know, and Ape and I were talking about before the show, was I don't know what kind of current switch you're going to have available out of the output of this boost converter, I would assume it cannot be more than you have available current coming into it.
So my power supply here, this Unity, I showed a picture of it earlier. It 32 volts, 6 amps is how much AS it has. I don't know if I believe all that, but what I wanted to do, like maybe it can do 32 volts or 6 amps. I don't know if it can push 6 amps at 32 volts. Right now it's turned on and it's set for 5 volts, 1 amp. But if I put these on here, I'm not getting a reading on my multimeter, right? You can see that.
Mhm.
So I have to actually turn the output on. So when I do that, it drops. The multimeter's reading 1.7 volts. The output on my Unity says 1.8 volts, right? So I mean that's close enough that I wouldn't worry about it. But
Well, like
what is
Ziggy
being-
said, though, there's going to be some loss in that.
Well, there is, but there's also sag because like I have this pulling. So this is
Right.
0.96 of an amp. So this is almost an amp going into this load right now.
Right.
Now what I can do is I can adjust my voltage on the power supply. Like I just turned it up to. Would you look at that?
How much are you putting out?
Well, I just turned it up to 7, but nothing's changed. It keeps dropping to 1.8. So I wonder if that has something to do with the.
Have you got
amperage.
constant current turned on and the amperage set too high?
You know what? Let me. I'm gonna turn it off because I don't want anything to explode in my face. Let me go here. I'm gonna turn it so it can put up to 1.5 amps out. Let's turn this thing back on. So you can see this went up. See now it says 1.46.
Is the bottom number the voltage?
The bottom number is the amperage.
The
top one is
amperage.
the voltage.
Okay.
So this MakerHawk's only seeing 1/2 of a volt.
Yeah, because that's doing the same thing as this east tester does. That's limiting the current input. Now you can turn that, I think that top knob on the right and adjust your current, because I think
Yeah.
that's current limiting you.
Yeah, so I can adjust these. One is fine and one is coarse.
I think that's fine. The top one, I think, is the coarse one, if I remember.
Man, I'm spinning these things like crazy.
Whoa, there you go. Bob's
Yeah,
jumping.
something just happened.
Yeah, so now you've got 55 volts coming out.
You woke it up.
And that's supposed to be how much draw I actually put on this thing, right?
Well, at 55 volts,
I don't know where it's getting that 55 volts from. That's got to be
That's
a
what's-
failure.
no, hold up. The 55 volts is coming out of the ass of that boost converter.
So like if I put these on here, this is coming out of it. It's only got 0.5 volts coming out of it.
Have you adjusted that at all?
No.
All right, DC all that stuff and just test the boost converter without a load on it at all. Because it's limiting your current, and I think it's making the boost converter step down or something, because I was seeing that same kind of thing here with this. And this
All
is
right,
one
so
of those things where I'm still learning how to use this load for sure. I can't. It's way more complicated than I would,
All
Yeah,
right,
just
so,
disconnect those bad boys and test your voltage on the output side.
well, I just turned the load off, right? So load shouldn't be drawing anything.
Okay.
You can see those fuses, right, Abe?
Yeah.
The 30
So
amp
this is
fuses,
showing.
55
Look at that.
volts.
It's showing 55 volts. Well, I'll be dipped.
Say it. Say it. Say it right now.
No.
Come
So
on.
I wonder.
Come
Are
on.
we saying the voltage is too high for the load?
Yeah.
No, he's saying it's turned all the way up, but earlier it wasn't showing that.
It's actually not turned all the way up. It's just kind of in the middle.
This
If you
thing
tur-
goes 100?
I don't know. I haven't tried. When I thought it was at 55 volts, I started turning it down.
How
All right,
many
just spun it
voltages
off.
is he feeding it with?
I'm feeding it with 7.
Good
What does
Lord.
that say? 63.
Yeah, go the other way. that little tiny screw, turn to the left, and that
Oh,
will
no.
drop the voltage. and you can turn it a lot.
I can't see shit, son.
Man, you need to slap them probe wires in there on that output.
That's how I did it yesterday. It's got the little clamps underneath the screws, and I just raised them up, jammed the probes in, and tightened it up, and that's how I was looking at it.
Or take a razor blade to the wiring harness. That's how everybody gives me their car.
All right, well, hold on a second here.
Hold on.
I want to be careful in how I do this. Let me turn this. This thing is off.
Keep in mind that those capacitors hold that charge for a hot minute too.
Yep, as long as that orange light is on. See that light
Yes.
down there?
Yeah.
All right.
Yay!
All right, now that's telling us it's at 12.
It's discharging it. You didn't lower it to 12. It's still like at 48.
All right, let's turn this baby back on.
Abe, on your multimeter, is EEV blog, isn't that a YouTube channel?
It is.
Okay.
So he worked with a company called Bryman, and then
Okay.
That's one of his.
He got to put his name on one. That's
Mine is an electro boom meter.
All right, so I'm turning to the left, and that should be bringing this thing down.
Yes, it is, but there's a sag between you turning and that voltage. You can turn faster than it will drop. You might want to stop every so often, but like more than that, just go.
I'm afraid that damn screw's going to come out.
I know. It's really inintuitive, right? It's actually sitting on a worm gear. And
Yeah,
then what you're actually turning turns very slow. I want to believe that Ape is going in and out of these harmonics of his capture camera that are freezing it with the transformer.
TC Fitz dropped a $10 super chat. Happy Sunday, Mr. Ape.
Thank you,
Thanks,
TC.
TC.
Much appreciated.
TC is an awesome guy.
I guess we're going to set this on 12.8.
13.8. Make it usable.
All right, we'll go 13.8.
Anything above 13 is going to be fine. 13 to 14.
Yeah, 13.9.
You're good. Leave it alone. Quit touching it. Stop touching that.
There.
I know that's not the first time you've heard those words.
All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to turn this off. We're going to hook the wire back up and then go back to the load and see how it behaves.
Look at okay.
Now, what is the amp limitation on your power supply?
Well, it says 6, but I got it right now set to 1.5.
Okay.
Do we know the core material?
I have no idea what it is. And I think that this was the right way.
You need to check that, Cletus.
Did you see that little test he did there with it where he like tapped it?
Hot's on the right. Yeah, hot's on the right and ground's on the left.
He's like, I think this is right. Tap, tap. Yeah, that's good.
Well, it's being scientific. Scientifical.
It's been real exciting around here, Jim.
What? Oh, yeah, with the storms.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm still wore out.
You got real power back on, or you running on?
I got real power on yesterday morning.
When did the storm come through?
3 days ago, 2 days ago.
That ain't bad, son. There was like 4+ million people without power in Florida.
Yeah, I was one of them.
Yes, you were. Ziggy, we were all waiting for you to run out in your backyard when it was actually storming, carrying the American flag.
I did.
Well, I never
it
saw
dropped.
it.
Yeah, no, you have to rewatch the whole thing to find it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All like 20 hours of it. Yeah, no, the flag came down and somehow I got it back up in the wind. It's very
well, no, you were supposed to. I needed an updated Florida man meme with the American flag and Ziggy out there in his backyard in the underwear.
No, he won't. This is showing 13.9. See, we have that right there.
Yep.
So that's what we had adjusted it to using the multimeter. And then I guess I can use this to slowly turn up how much amperage we're pulling out of this thing. So you can see it quickly drops when we get an amp on there. Now, I don't think that that's the buck converter or the boost converter that's causing that drop. That's probably my power supply. You know what I'm saying? I don't think my power supply can push that much amperage.
Not if you have it limited to 1.5.
Well, it only goes up to 6, right?
Well, so this is
So, I
one
mean,
reason I put an inline meter in it so I could see something different telling me what was going on. But
So now I have it up to 2.5.
okay, so turn your dingus on again.
Oh, 13.9.
Yeah,
Almost an amp.
you were current limited.
Oh, look at it fall off. It just fell right on its face. Was that 5 volts it's saying?
Yeah, so if I'm at right at a it was at 13.
What's it doing? You might have to power cycle it. It's in some kind of dumb mode. Hey, there it is.
There you go. There you go.
I mean, I could turn the voltage up on this thing too, but I'm starting to get a little nervous around here. I just
No,
turned it up
your
to
voltage.
10.
So
Hey, your input voltage is still 7 volts?
It's a 10 now. So that's the
Okay.
pressure, right? That's pushing the amps.
Yep.
If I have too much amps coming through, the pressure drops. Yes. I think that Kurt's right.
yes. So is Jim.
All right, so
That's
right
what
now,
Jim said
we're
like
set
5
at
minutes ago.
So we're set for 13.9 out, and we have 10 volts going in, and we should be able to get to up to 2.5 if the thing is right, if my power supply can push that much. It keeps cutting off. I mean, I guess I could keep turning this thing up. I don't like doing that, but
What are you
got the
turning
current
up?
set
Don't turn
to?
up the voltage. Turn up your current.
I did. I turned it up to 3.5. It didn't do it. It still.
Well, like
You have
Ziggy
to
said, you
reboot
got
your
to
converter.
back it off and reboot it. Yeah.
Reboot this thing?
No,
Yeah.
the dingus, the Maker Hawk.
Oh, I was
You
assuming
think,
it was
Ziggy?
his. I was assuming it was his converter that was falling over.
Well,
Yeah,
that's a good point. It could be.
well,
I mean, usually
can
those
reboot
power
that.
supplies, they either work or they don't.
No, I meant his Maker Hawk.
Are we talking about the
Well,
load?
if you look
Yeah.
at that, the load's now 13.8 and 185.
This is what we were talking about. That boost converter cannot pass more current than your
Right.
power supply is willing to let it have. So if you've got
Because
that
right now
power
it's-
supply limited down, and again, keep in mind that boost converter is using some of that juice too.
Right.
So you're crossing the threshold by drawing too many amps on the load, and that's all the voltage you can get to have that thing working. Because remember, watts is what's driving that fan.
Right. So if you do the math, I'm sure. So like right now, it's doing the 3.5 amps, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is the max amount of amps that I can deliver out of this thing. But the voltage is now down to 7.75 volts.
Right.
So like if I turn this thing and go the other direction, if you do the watt, something just kicked in. Did you hear
No,
that? So I just had a fan come on. So if I turn it the other direction, it goes all the way the other way.
And see, what Kurt is saying is it can pass more current if the voltage can make up for how much current you want. So if you turn up the output voltage on the boost to something past 13.9, then that can make up. Because remember, watts is volts times amps. So you're asking for more watts than you have the the pressure and the flow to get to. Give that 3 or 4 solid turns to the right. Turn up the juice. You're probably not going to. We're here to call 911 for you is what I'm saying.
Dude, there's something here making some kind of noise that I don't know if I've heard before.
Yes.
You guys can't hear that?
No? I mean, dude, I got this load sitting on my desk with a fan running. No, I don't hear anything.
So
It sounds like it's coming from the Astron, but the Astron doesn't have a fan in it.
my issue is that your load is detecting 5 volts, which is not normal. So something is faltered, and you should probably disconnect power because it should
Just
never be at 5
reset
volts.
that load. That load locks out. It's kind of like in a shutdown mode.
Yeah, it's probably really beating its
That's
brains
talking
out.
Crazy.
Talking
Cable's
crazy.
not out.
So the only thing really that should be making a sound is your step-up converter because it's doing some super magic in that toroid, making it sing. Your power supply and your load are all in the other direction, unless your power supply just really had a fit just
Okay,
now.
it's the power supply that's making the sound.
Yeah, it's got a fan in it, I would assume, right?
But I just had never heard it kick on like that before.
Oh. And Kurt is saying the power supply voltage needs to go up too.
All right, so the power supply is set at 12.1. We could go. Well, the problem is that if we go to 20, like I just said, at the 20 volts, we have to go higher over here because it boosts up. It doesn't buck down, right? Isn't that what we saw earlier?
That's what I think. I'm as much of an expert on this as you are. Well,
So if I turn the load off, which I just did, it's going to take a second to, and I turn this back on, we should see 20 on the input, right? So pay attention to the multimeter. So we see 20 on there. And let's see
those are
what the
great
output-
veins on the back of your hand, man.
aren't they though?
Could start an IV on
29.
those things easy.
So we're boosting up
You're mean.
about 10 volts. What did he say about them?
It's a
He's talking about stabbing you in the hand, and I was thinking to myself, I'd never.
No,
put
I
IVs
was
in
just
people's
thinking what we're
hands.
going to tell the paramedics when they come. Get that IV in that hand, son. That's a great vein. You can use an 18 in that thing, maybe a 16.
I would have lost a bet. I wouldn't have thought you were a hand man.
I'm not. I'm usually I'm an AC or a jugular.
Right here is my spot.
Oh, no, the fireman vein is, I can't get it on camera. This one, the AC right in here.
I'll punch somebody in the face. They put one there on me.
If I'm sticking a needle in your vein right there, you can't even lift your hand. So.
Yeah. I'll read the report later.
Right. We also do them here if we have to.
EJ's always a winner.
I had to do
I'd like to
EJs
get
on a
this to be a
diabetic
one
one time.
Oh, I wanted to show you guys my my Watt Trash power supply. So
Did you steal
get
that
you
out
on
of the
full
back of a
screen.
PC on a truck?
yeah, it's a PC power supply, right?
Right.
And I've got me a cool fan in it. But anyway, where the wires came out, I've got one of those push button, eBay specials.
Yeah.
The
I
light
like
button.
it.
That's
And it fits in
snazzy.
that hole. I didn't have to modify that. I just undid all the wiring. And so on top, it doesn't matter which way I hold it, but I've got all 3 12-volt power rails ganged together, and then I've got 3 outputs. So this is actually
Nice.
all one channel. So this is, I forget how many ampere dues I get on the 12-volt.
That's probably 40 amps, right?
270 watts. 270 watts at 12 volts. So do the math.
10
16
amps.
amps. Oh, between rail 1 and rail 2, I get 16 amps apiece. So
Yeah.
that's over 30 amps of 12 volt. But anyway, it's exactly 12 volt. That's the problem. And then here's a 5 volt rail that I broke out for USB stuff. But yeah, that's the problem, is that it's exactly 12 volts. So not an ideal voltage for our hobby.
Eh.
It'll power stuff.
All right, so I think I found the sweet spot where it cuts off. So the power supply right now is putting out 20 volts at around 3.1 amps, right? So 3 times 20,
60
what's
watts.
that? 60 watts, right? And then here we have 30 volts, 2 amps, 60, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I just,
Why do you keep freezing?
there we go. See, that's right where it drops. That's about right. I don't know why I keep freezing. I was holding still, but maybe it's my internet or something.
Yeah, you've been every so often you just freeze and then come right back. But
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's, my
so do the
machine's
cutoff
telling me
thing
it
again.
needs
Show
to.
me where the cutoff was again.
It was like a 2.3.
When you go over the input power coming from the source power supply.
Yeah,
When you
once you crest like 60 watts, right?
right, then you get shut off.
And I got to come all the way down to get it to. Here we go.
Yeah. Right,
So it's gonna be
Starman?
right.
Those
gonna,
are the hands of a professional.
It's gonna be right around there. You go. See, boom.
Yep.
So, I guess we proved it. I don't know what we proved.
So it's a 60 watt limit. 60 watt limit on the step up transformer. Or
Well,
the
it's 60
power supply?
watts is where it's cutting off based off the settings of everything. Like this might be able to deliver more if I had a better power supply.
His power supply is only putting out 60 watts.
Right.
Yeah.
See, mine can only do 30 watts before it gets stupid. So I can go to 15 volts at 2 amps, and that's it. And I question the 15 volts and 2 amps. It's more like 15 volts and 1.6 amps or so before it goes stupid. But
We need to start
Gotcha.
Making parallel kits for these power supplies, guys. Coffee and ham radio, high amperage.
well, I mean, I've got a 35 amp Astron sitting right up here, but I thought it would probably be better if I didn't have 35 amps of DC available to kill me.
You have a dial on it?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Mr. This Is Me Too is saying with the low prices today, you shouldn't be without a 60 volt, 20 amp power supply. I think I paid like 75 for my Unity desktop power supply, and that says 32 and 6.
I have something similar out in the shop. It's not a Unity. I don't know. It's Amazon, and it's a Chinese power supply, and it looks like all the other Chinese power supplies. And I think it will go to 30 volts. And I don't remember what the amperage limitation is on it. And it's probably a combination of voltage and how much amperage I have it dialed into. It's the same kind of deal as yours.
Yeah, so I mean, they are getting cheaper and cheaper. I think I'm getting sent one by Veneersy. I think it's sending me one.
Nice.
It's hard to tell with sometimes when you're talking to them, like they'll show you a picture of something and ask if you like it, and you say yeah, and then you have no idea if it's going to come or not. You know what I mean? Like just don't know how that works.
They throw it all into a big bin and then churn it up.
Yeah, and he says, and then when you translate with Chinese, 20 amp translates to 15. That sounds
right. Me too.
About right.
Yeah. Well, this power supply here now. This is Tech Power. I can't remember where this came from. It might be a Hamfest show table or something. I don't remember. I've had it for several years, but
I bought this one probably about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, the Unity. I got it on, was it Black Friday or whatever it is, after Thanksgiving. I'm pretty sure when I got it.
Is that the one you thought was a load?
No, that's this GW Instack, but this thing only goes up to 5 volts. I think, I don't know. I've never even turned it on. But it's not switching. It's a linear power supply. And all the meters on it are analog. There's no digital on it. But I've never even turned it on. It's heavy as hell, I can tell you that. It probably weighs 40 pounds. Yeah,
you know what would be an interesting
My biggest problem
thing?
is my solar panels that I have laying around here. The voltage is too high.
I'll bet.
Yeah, what are those, 24 or 36 volts, something like that?
40 something, almost 50 volts open circuit.
48?
No, it's It's
I don't really
it's
know.
like
I mean,
over
I think
50 volts open circuit, but
okay.
they're
Yeah, it's
full
crazy
size
the way that
residential
works.
panels, so they're
You're
they're
not
outside
talking
of
little
the normal
little
class. They're
ham
outside the
panels.
normal class structure that you're
He,
used
yeah,
to.
he doesn't have the normal the ham prepper panel.
Right.
But,
No, mine are 9 amps at 50 volts a piece. I have 42 of them.
that's some juice. Thank you, Richie.
Richie, appreciate it, man.
Interstellar Starman saying no explosions. I was really hoping the wire would get hot and do a little smoking, but I'm actually a little surprised it didn't. Like when
Well,
I
I don't think we're giving it enough enough
know,
incentive.
Can we try one more time?
I probably could, but we'll not do
Come
that.
on. It's Sunday.
I mean, I could go up to 6, maybe.
I mean, the only other thing I
amps.
got is to hook it to the Astron, so that's going to be 13.8 volts, up to 35 amps of current draw.
See, I just don't think that this thing's got enough. Oh, let me go back to the.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it has 30 amp fuses, Ape. It must be rated for 30 amps.
Yeah, I'm saying I don't think my power supply's got enough.
How many though? 2?
2? I'm being sarcastic. It has
No,
2.
I'm looking at 2 right there, right? Yeah.
Yes, 2 30 amp
2
fuses.
15s.
I don't think so. I think they were 30s. I can't
30s are
read
usually
that.
green.
Dude, I don't know.
See, I don't think that this power.
Well, either
supply-
way, Ziggy, 30 amps for crying out loud. They are 15s.
Yeah, that's
But again, 30 amps.
it's a lot of amp redos. It could be 15 just double fused.
Sure.
See, I don't think my power supply's got enough behind end on it to push more amperage through those wires.
How many watts are we talking about right now? 30 times 2 and some change?
Yeah.
So a little over 60.
65. Almost 65 watts. Somewhere around there.
That's a lot of water
Plus you're
redos
getting
going
some-
through all
you're
these
getting some-
devices.
You're getting some loss in here.
Is the wire warm at all?
No.
60 watts. No.
No,
He's got that
you're
nice
good.
speaker wire.
That's
The
quality.
fan
That's
just kicked
Gear
on
IT,
again.
isn't it? That's hot dollar.
Yeah, it's just Gear IT indoor speaker wire.
Oxygen free.
Right.
right.
Richie said go get the battery out the neighbor's car and let's use that for a power supply.
See what we can pull out of it.
600 amps available.
So here's the next thing, right? In my little camper. I'm trying to, and I've been thinking about this for like 2 years now. Do I want a 24 or 48 volt system? Because the higher voltage you run to your inverter and everything, the more efficient everything is. Like it takes so much, there's so much loss in going from 12 volts up to 120 volts. If you could start off at 48 volts, you don't have to use as big a wire. That's my big pet peeve. Because I've got 7 to 10 kilowatts of solar, and I run it all through 2 runs of 10 gauge wire because the voltage is 600 volts.
So I think this is 10 gauge. I just found this,
And that was still
sitting here on the
expensive.
desk. So I didn't have
2,000
to
feet
make
of
the
10
cable
gauge.
that I made.
You
See, this is what I'm talking about. Like I forget that I
are
have
those
stuff.
soldered also?
Yeah.
Did you solder and crimp those? That's boss.
I didn't want Chuck yelling at me.
You were doing something dangerous with those.
I went full lazy yesterday when I was making the cables for this. I just crimped. I was like, Chuck is going to judge me harshly on this, but I'm too lazy to solder this too.
Well, my
And this
soldering
is like a
already
one-time. This is like a one-time thing. I'm never going to use this rig again. All right.
Probably
In spite
probably
of my
never gonna
better
use it.
judgment,
So you probably never use the buck converter again. Well, I mean, the good thing is that we have the buck converters. If we can come up with a use case, who knows?
right? Okay,
You're back.
Yeah, I was swapping it while you were swapping it. All right. In spite of my better judgment, it is now hooked up to the.
That's some serious crimping.
Yeah, Tio bought me a nice set of the double butterflies.
But has Tio shared a room with you yet?
No, but I heard how that
We shared a cabin.
How that
I
was.
can't. I would not be a good roommate in this scenarios.
All the way
Or what are we looking at, Jim?
26.
Okay. So let me make sure I got everything wired the right way. All right. So we have the voltage coming in. This is coming from the Astron power supply. So it's 12, 13 volts DC. And we have 35 amps available. This is the output right here of the dingus. And that is our source on the meter. And then this end is going over here to the load where I can set the current and all of that. So what I need to do.
That's like one of them racing car meters you got on there.
It's the same guts as every ham inline
Listen, I'm
meter.
not judging. I'm just saying.
It's the same ones. They're all the same. It's the same circuit, same
No.
outputs, everything. All right. Why is that not going up in voltage? Power source. That's my output. That's going to the load. Maybe I had this cranked down and never cranked it back up.
Are you putting a load on it?
Yeah. Well, I'm not putting a load on it. This is the output voltage is what we're reading right here. There we go. All right, so there's 25 volts. And that's what the DC load is showing. So what this is going to show us is what I'm also seeing on here, which you can't see me pointing at the screen on this thing. But now
That's
we
the
can
East
turn
tester load.
Yeah, this is the electronic load here. So now let's set our current to 2 amps. Well, it's actually at 2.5, but close enough. 25 volts. And by cracky, I'm showing 2.5 amps at 25 volts, putting out 62 watts. But I'm putting in 12 volts up to 35 amps. And if you look
Can you put more of a draw on it, or it sounds like 60 watts is our limit?
No, that's just all I set it to. And this is agreeing close enough.
But can you put more load on that thing?
Yes, I'm fixing to.
And you got
Now this is limited. This is limited to 400 watts. All this wire is 18 or 16 gauge wire, so we should be okay.
But that's 8 amps. Right?
No, it's
400
2.5
watts
amps.
is 8.
Oh yeah, 400. Yes, at 25 volts. Yes. So please stand by. Here we go. And again, if I die, one of you people call 911 and tell my wife. There's 3.5.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
There's
Now
4
we're at
amps.
4.
Remember, I have 35 available coming from that power supply. This is that Astron 35 RS35M. So you were feeding it with just a little bit of juice. I got a fire hose jammed in the end of this thing while I'm trying to water my petunias.
Well, let's put a little bit more petunia on there.
Just a minute, I'm doing some science checks here. Oh yeah. Okay. All right. That's getting a little fluid over there. We're about to the edge of my safety threshold here.
So maybe another amp or two would be fine.
Come on, we
Did you
just
hear
broke
the fan
100.
kick on?
There we go. Keep going. Keep going.
There's 5 amps at 24 volts.
Keep going.
I can hear something.
The load power wire is fine. This is all fine. This is a little saggy.
What wire is that? That's going to your buck converter.
Something's making a noise here.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I can hear something that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, so we're gonna shut that down. He probably does. And she's mean too, Ape. She'll cheat you. You got to watch out for her. So you're limited by the current input as well, which is what we talked about at the
100%.
beginning and before the show. So
The test doesn't
whoever
count.
was, several of the guys were saying it would be helpful to be able to dial up higher wattage on your power supply. This little one that I started with, this guy, only got 2 amps of output, so I'm not going to get.
Is that a homebrew power supply?
This? No,
Yeah.
This is a store-bought thing. Like I said, I don't remember where I got it. It's a Tech
This is the one you
Power.
said you got at Hamfest or some shit like that.
It might have been Amazon. I don't remember. Y'all can look it up. It's a high 152A by Tech Power.
Just because he didn't homebrew it doesn't mean somebody else didn't.
Right?
Well, what's crazy is like you get
Some
like,
little 10-year-old kids in China, Ape, they made that. Don't you judge
Cranking
them.
those things out.
That's right.
What I'm saying is
4,000 a
crazy
day.
though is that you have like we all have shit all over our places, right? We have no idea where it came from.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. God damn it. There we go.
I want to go back to this. There we go.
Well, yeah, when I was looking for the connectors for this power supply yesterday, the banana plugs to make a cable, don't judge me, son. Listen, for lighting up LEDs and playing with Arduinos, this little power supply is just fine. And it was cheap. It came from Walmart, not Kmart. I'm just saying, I got a little class.
Like I'm just finding I got all these cables here now that I didn't know.
By the way, let me shut that off.
This is the danger cable. This is one of them. This one has power poles on one side, but then it has these alligator clips on the other.
I like that cable. That's sexy.
But you have to be real damn careful with these.
You know, you could
You know
put
what I'm
like
saying?
heat shrink over the end of that or something, right?
Well, because I've had these touch before, but what I would typically do is duct tape them to the table.
It doesn't matter what you put over it.
Yeah, it's still not
I'm
safe.
going to find a
But
way to short it.
This is what I did with these
Some bananas.
banana jacks. Yeah, after I got them wired up, I just went ahead and put some shrink wrap over the end too, because they still kind of, this part sticks out a little bit even from the. Yeah.
Well, like I had some pro cables that had banana jacks on one side and alligator clips on the other, and I just cut the alligator clips off and then put terminal connectors on so I could connect it to this buck converter, boost converter. But this one has these old like those goofy connectors on there. See those?
Mm-hmm.
Like where you screw them down, it's different.
Those are the ones you're supposed to use fair rules for, right?
Yes, that's what I was trying to think of. But these are fun to play with. I mean, I guess we got to come up with a real reason to use one, right?
So the wire I was using, and I need to. This wire is.
I have a real
think
reason to use one.
I think this is like 18 gauge or maybe. I can't tell what that is. It's smaller gauge than the rest of this. So I had some voltage resistance there. This is what was getting warm, the wire feeding the. But also
We'll have to do this again
we're running
because I
100
want us to
watts
use-
through it. I need fatter wire to do this.
I want us to use oscilloscopes next time because I want to see this power coming in and coming out. You know what I mean? Because I think that's the real treat to this.
Well, it would be nice to see what kind of ripple and stuff, but we didn't even.
I don't. Well, I mean, that's why I had the inline meter, and I thought I had 2 of them that worked, and I may know where the other one is, but that's what they were for, because I wanted to put one coming from the power supply to see the current draw coming out of the power supply, right? I know what the voltage is on the power supply, but I don't know what the current draw is. So that's what I want to see there. And then one on the output side to see the same current draw that the load is taking.
What I think Ziggy's saying, though, is on this thing, because it has a transistor on the bottom that uses PWM to turn it on and off so fast, are you getting any noise? Are you getting like, or is it really DC current that's coming out? Like it's probably, it's got to have some wave in there.
Yes, some smacking transformers in there.
So. I don't got anything else. We might be at the end of the show.
We are an hour in, and 36 people have stayed through
Nice
this.
seeing you guys after the hurricane.
Nice seeing you didn't blow away.
Well, Ziggy had a 20-some hour straight live stream hurricane.
I tried.
I tuned in a couple times, and every time I tuned in, it was just a picture of outside in his backyard, and I was like, okay, there's no dancing or anything here. What's
We
going
had
on?
he had the police cam or whatever, the scanner on.
Yeah, I listened to it
So
for
I
a
had
while.
I have a bow thing, and I'm all analog in my county, so I know exactly police, fire, EMS, hospital, and there's something else I had. Oh, all the ham repeaters. So I had all my bases covered, and it was like 13 channels, so it was scanning super. I didn't miss anything. It was great.
That's awesome.
Just a bow thing sitting on my window.
Just
All
a
right,
guy
well,
with a bow fang.
Thanks for being here, guys. I'm hitting the button. Thanks for everybody in the chat, and thanks for watching. Much appreciated.
Thanks, guys.
Had fun.